Welcome to Legion Outpost, and this is our hobby talk. I am John Riley, aka Fist, and I'm just excited to be here with you guys and tell you a little bit about some hobbies that we've been working on here. Now, this is a little bit older that I've been working on, but it was something that I really got into and got me back into my 3D printing and enjoying things. And so, around Halloween, this past Halloween, I decided I was going to make my kids their costume this year. And me being a bit of a Star Wars nerd, I decided that I was going to make them a Mandalorian costume. So I decided I'm going to make two Mandalorian costumes. I never had printed anything like this before. I'd never done anything that big. And so I said, why not start with one helmet? And so I started that process. Now I got to remind you that my printers at this time were tronxy XYs, 802s, and so they're not the greatest printer. They're kit printers, and so I decided that I was going to do this, and I started with the helmet, and I decided I'm not just going to do the helmet. I got to do the full thing. Now, I'll tell you something. I didn't get too much of the soft stuff done this year, but I worked on it a lot because I started this at the beginning of October. So I really literally had 1 month to do two costumes. And so part of the agreement was that my boys would have to help me with it, and I would do the printing, and I did a lot of printing. And they would help me with the sanding and painting, so that it became their own project, and they were kind of what they wanted, and I helped them a lot along the way, but I didn't do any of the sanding beyond the first sand. So I let them see how much they wanted to increase the quality of it, and so I just did a quick sand and a filler for it. And so let's take a little look at the little bit of a slideshow slash video that I have here. And so here it is. This is on my Tronics, and they're printing the helmet. This was one of the second helmet parts. Now, when I was painting the first helmet, I ran into a little problem. I was printing them on both printers. And so what I found out is when you print parts on two different printers, sometimes they don't line up as nicely. So I ended up starting to only print all the helmets on one, and I started deciding that I was going to print the accessories on another thing. So that became something that I tried to keep my helmets to one and then print it. So it took me a little longer because I couldn't double produce, and so I had to print a lot of the accessories. Now here what you're seeing is my early stages of my first helmet, and then my chest plate. And so this is just the first glue up of the first helmet, and you can see there's a little bit of flaws in the lines there when I was trying to do that. And so then there's a picture of my workbench in my garage, and it was just some of the things I was gathered to do this, and the process, and the boys sitting there in the chairs doing it, and working hard at just kind of working together. And you can see I've got gun parts in the box, and I've got different things along the way that we are using to create the costumes, and all the different tools and sandpapers and stuff. Now there's things I've learned through this process that I would probably have changed, and even the finishing techniques. I'm going to do another one. This is their first choice of colors, and they started doing some colors, and this here was a color tester. So I did this testing on that pauldron. Now, when I did the pauldrons, I had 5 pauldrons fail before I ever got one that worked. And so what happened was my printers weren't really big enough to do the pauldrons. So I actually went out and bought my TiVo Tornado to do the pauldrons, and they did the chest plates on the pauldrons too, on the TiVo Tornado. And so that was some of the things I did on the TiVo Tornado, and that's why I got them. And I bought some gloves for them to mix into their costumes. And this was the first sanding and puttying of that. As I said, I did the first sanding for the boys, and they would take it to the next level. Their guns that they've laid out and built. And this was another gun that we tried building. It didn't work out quite as well, but it gave them another option. And so it was kind of good. This is helmet part. I printed the helmet in 8 parts, and then the ear parts went to it too. And so you can see how you had to line it up, and I used this glue here, the E6000, to glue them all. But then I also used old filament that I would melt with my soldering iron to fill in some of the gaps and fill in the holes, and just clean it up and give it a stronger hold. And so and then you would clip it and weight and stuff. There's a few things I would, as I said, I've learned. I would glue differently, and I've got new glue that I would use, and that I use for most of my other projects. Even the finishing style, I would probably now use a little bit of resin over it, and then just kind of flash that resin to give it easier, then give it a sand and stuff to just make it cleaner. As I said, I'm going to do a couple more of these in the future, and I've got a Scout Trooper helmet that I want to do. So these are some of the things, and I would do a step by step as I do them. It was a learning process, and I have new printers now, and they'll be cleaner and different things. I got 2 Ender 3s now, and so that's going to make things a little easier. And that was my workstation. And that material I did for underneath and stuff, and I got some police SWAT jacket things that I attached all the parts to when I started doing the soft. And so this is the gun with its first, the helmet with the first wash. And these are just, as I said, the hand parts and different little parts that we see as we go. And the painting process was a lot. This is a second helmet hanging up to dry. And so a knife that I printed, and there's a lot of cool 3D print files, and I can add them, the ones that I used down there. If people want to know some of the files I want, just ask, and I can search them up. And so this is the finished product of my youngest son's, the blue, and he decided to go blue and silver, and so he painted it all with my help. And it's a bad picture there, but you get the feel of it. And this is my oldest son, and he did a orange and silver. Now, there's one thing I want you to know that I noticed after the fact, and that was the top part of his chest plate is on upside down. Both of them, I put them upside down the first time. Later on, I fixed that, and I didn't have time to print off all the thigh pads, so we got a lot of the same ones because that was my test prints for thigh pads, and we wanted to do the different. But this is, as I said, I'll add to it each year, and this is kind of where we ended up in the finale look of the boys. And so that's kind of their costumes that we did together. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was something that I enjoyed doing. And it's really got me back into doing some 3D prints and stuff. And so I want to do some more costume type design of 3D prints, but I also would like to continue to work on my board game terrain and stuff. And so 3D printer has been an added bonus to what I've been doing. For watching this video, it's just a little update of one of my projects that I was doing, and I know it's been a while, so that's why I just wanted to get this out, because I thought it was a really cool project. And if somebody's looking for more detail outline on this, there's some great YouTubers that do this, but I would love to share more with you and how I went about doing it. And as I said, I've learned a lot. And well, just thank you for watching, and hope you would like and subscribe. That really drives me to go forward. The more subscriptions, I had a couple new subscribers this week, and it made me decide, hey, I want to make another video. And so these likes and subscribes help me. As I said, I'm going to continue to do this, and hopefully this is content that you guys want. Thank you, and look forward to chatting with you again.